A lot of people think that the heroes are Batman and Superman, that kind of thing. I see heroes as something different. I see, and I've had the privilege and the honor of knowing a number of heroes in my area. His name was Jim McConnell. He lived just west of Trenton, under the dam. His farm was just under the dam there at Trenton. And rest assured, he was a good old boy. I learned some things from that man, I'm here to tell you. Now, I worked cattle for a lot of different people and places in my time, part-time. And he was the only one, though, that was working probably 8 people there that day. And them cattle was high-headed and trying to go through the fence and run over you like a freight train for no reason. Just terrible trying to work with them. And I've seen it before. The old owners, they just say, get her done. And we'd have to bull our way through and make it work. To hell with the cattle and the danger that we were aimed at. Not him. That day, he just, after a guy got punked and rolled, he said, that's enough. That's enough. He said, everybody go home. He said, that ain't worth it. He said, we come back next week, we'll try her again. I'd never heard of such a thing, but they did. Now, the 8 couldn't all come back. There was only 3 showed up the next week. And those 3 did in a morning what all 8 would have taken all day, and hopefully nobody would have got hurt. Because them cattle were ready and in the mood to get worked. I questioned Jim about it. I said I'd never seen such a thing, change in cattle. And I said, once in a while you'll have them work better than the other day, but I said, I just don't understand. And he said, cattle are kind of like women. There are days you want to leave a woman alone. There are days you want to leave a woman alone. And there are days you want to leave cattle alone. And that's just how it was. And he had wisdom that you can't imagine. Old-time wisdom. He was a good old boy. One of his famous incidents that happened out there, in the 1960s, old Johnson became president of the United States after Kennedy got lead poisoning. Well, his wife, old Lady Bird Johnson, she got the wise and idea that she was going to make everybody take their signs down. All these commercial signs along the road, take them down. They was hurting a beautiful, beautiful America. She wanted to beautify America. Well, next thing you know, a federal man came up to Jim's place there, and he said, you got a sign out there along the highway on your pasture. Jim said, yeah. And he said, you got to take that down by the order of the United States government. Now, only Jim would say, what are you going to do to me if I don't take that down? What are you going to do to me? Well, the old government man back then had never been challenged. He said, I don't know what they'll do to you. Jim said, don't bother me until you know, and I want to see it in writing, just not some smoke coming out of your ears. I want to know what they're going to do. And he said, plus, if you do come back, bring a check. And the guy said, a check? And he said, I want paid, because the company that has that advertisement up there, they're paying me every year to have that up there. So you pay me to take it down, or it's going to stay. That government man never did come back. Never did. Old Jim was a hero to a lot of us. We need more of them today, challenging the government every chance you get. But at the same time, he used some wisdom that you'd never see. When they passed a law back in the 73, and the experts said we was going to be out of oil in 20 years. They said everybody's got to start driving 55 miles an hour. Well, old Jim wasn't real good on that idea. Got picked up a number of times for speeding. And so old cop pulled him over one time, and he said, you know how fast you was a-going? And old Jim snapped back at him. He said, I made a conscious decision to break the law. Because he said, when you guys pass fool laws, he said, only a fool should obey them. only a fool should obey him. That was Jim McConnell, and it was an honor to know him. I was at his house numerous times and had some really nice visits with him, and worked with him at I knew Bill Stanky, and they were neighbors, so I knew him through him too. And never heard a bad word about him. Never heard a bad word about him. And I'm here to tell you, that was one of my heroes. Rate this film.